Abhilash, you didn't get much time to fit out and, test by now, and there were problems the comforts were not all there, but you're not a person who's too fussy about all this. And as you said in Hobart, there was a leak and one hatch was leaking and you were sleeping in wet weather gear.
I mean, the leak was like, there was not one leak, everything was leaking. And my bunks were always wet and soggy. And I used to sleep on the floor and the floor was always wet. My sleeping bag used to be like so wet, you could squeeze out water out of it. So I used to always sleep in a raincoat.
But you didn't fall sick or anything while all this happened?
No, you don't fall sick at sea.
You don't fall sick at sea.
In fact, my health improves at sea, so I don't have acidity anymore. In 2018, I got rid of cholesterol. In 2013, my hearing improved.
Yeah.
So sea kind of resets me in a good way. Right.
But you were knocked down twice in the southern, right? How do you manage to protect your back and be safe in that kind of thing?
You mean to say this time?
Yeah.
Oh, this time, I made sure that I'm not outside. I thought that it's more important to protect myself than the boat. And I did everything that I had to and, left the boat to steer itself. So it's important that I don't have another injury.
Right. And your back was okay this time?
I did have an issue. On 26th January, I had an unannounced storm. It just picked up. There was no warning. And there was no warning from GGR or any other source. And it picked up slowly. And in no time, it was like 60 knots or something. And through a series of incidents, I lost my self-steering in the sense some lines ran out. And I was left holding the tiller. And I kept steering it for some 12 hours flat. And it became night from day. And I had to, switch on the navigation light. I had to switch on the compass light. Because I couldn't see the compass or I couldn't see the wind vane without the navigation light. Right. So, yeah, 12 hours I was steering with, and these boats are long keel boats. So the effort required is tremendous. It's like rowing. It's not like, two-finger steering. It's like rowing. You have to hold with both the hands, hold the tiller. You have to really use your back to pull and push. And after 12 hours, my back packed up. And it was quite bad. My right leg stopped working. So I was like literally dragging my right leg around the boat for 2 or 3 days. And then I called Golden Globe Race and I told them that I need to speak with a surgeon or a physiotherapist. And they put me in touch with my physiotherapist in Goa who recommended some exercises and then I was okay.
So you're doing exercises on the boat while this thing to get your back and your leg okay?
Yeah, so these were stretching exercises. So this was a case of muscular spasm and he wanted me to stretch my hamstring and lower back and calf and all to release that spasm. And then he gave me a ball exercise where I, rub that affected area with a ball, roll the ball around that.
Right.
And I did all that and it was fine. But the problem kept recurring, especially close to Argentina, close to Uruguay. I had to climb the mast to fix something. And that day my back was very, very badly packed up.
No, but for how long did, even if with those physiotherapy, a little bit of that ball exercise and all that, it's not recovery, right? So you're still struggling a bit, right, with that?
No. It was more or less complete recovery. When the muscle despasms, your back is okay.
Right. And what happened in Argentina when you had to go up the mast? It paid up again?
Same thing. The back issue cropped up and climbing the mast is like one of the most toughest thing you can do in a boat.
Yeah.
And I climbed the mast with a bad back.
This, when you talk about your anchor and your toilet issues, this seems minor compared to this. But then, how do you manage with all that? You sew the ripper as the mainsail by hand. How do you manage, with your anchor and your toilet door and all gone?
Well, it's you just do it. You make a plan and you just do it. So it's not as if you got a choice. You can, abuse and you can curse and you can do what you want, but at the end of the day, you don't have to have a choice whether you have to do it happily or unhappily. You have to do it.
Right. But you know, it's like, how do you fix that anchor problem?
The anchor did not have any problem. The problem was with my self-steering.
Self-steering, yeah.
So the thing about self-steering is that if you don't have self-steering in 48 hours, you end up with hallucinations. And in this voyage, during the practice and when I was entering Tasmania, I had severe hallucinations.
Oh.
So you just cannot sail from Cape Horn to the finish, which is almost 10,000 miles, with no self-steering. So the thing is, the self-steering has got a vane on top, and it's got a paddle that goes into the water.
Okay.
And my paddles kept breaking. I had only 3 paddles, and once the third one broke, I tried to put some pieces of wood there, hatch covers, and I made a rudder out of an emergency rudder. I made a paddle out of an emergency rudder. I tried to use that, and I broke open my toilet door and tried to fix it with the toilet door. But they didn't work, and they kept breaking. They would break in like 1 hour or something. So finally, I dismantled my anchor and I found a shaft. And I screwed that on, and it worked for 10,000 miles.
Wow. Apparently, apparently they're going to take you for the next commercial of Dr. Fix-It.
Well, that's not a bad idea. So when I was back in Les Sables alone, a lot of visitors came just to look at the self-steering. And they were like pointing at the anchor stuck to the self-steering and how it all worked.
Yeah. See, the Kirsten had said that she had to go into the water to clean the barnacles and all that for a smoother ride. Did you have to jump into the ocean?
I did that once. I was in the South Atlantic and there was no wind for 3 days. So on the second day, I decided to jump and see if there are any barnacles and clean them. And I didn't have too many. It was like a very small job, but the water was very cold. And, my preparation was such that I didn't have a diving suit. And I didn't have goggles also. So it's tough to see underwater, and the cold is quite bad for me, Malayali.
What are the temperature like of the water there?
Oh, it can be maybe 10 degrees, 15 degrees. And hypothermia can set in very quickly. Your brain stops working.
Right.
Your body loses heat quickly.
Right.
So let's say inside the boat, I'll be in 3 layers of clothes, at least 2 layers of inners, and one really expensive layer of mid layer, and maybe another layer of top layer. So what I did is I wore my long johns and drew a bucket of water, and I put it over my head, poured it over my head, and the temperature kind of equalized. Yes. Yeah. And then I jumped in the water. So I'd made a long I'd used a boat hook, and I had fixed a knife to it, and I went down and scraped off some barnacles.
Oh, how long were you in the water for?
Must have been an hour or so, not too much.
Gosh, really?
Oh yeah, and coming back was quite difficult because I lost my ladder.
It just gets worse and worse.
Yeah, that's what. So I had a rope hanging out, and I made some loops with knots, and then I climbed back.
Wow. And what's it like being in the water when there's no one for like miles and miles, nothing around you? Is this like being in the water in the middle of the ocean? What's it like?
It's peaceful.
I knew you were going to say that. I knew.
No, there is no uncertainty. There is no, like I say, no what municipality decrees, no orders to take and give. It's fun.
Yeah, and towards the end of the race, you were actually living on water, is what I hear. You had just water with you, and is that correct, or whether something you were able to manage to?
Yeah, so the thing with GGR is that you have to carry the water with you. RO plant is not allowed, which converts CO2 to fresh water. Then, these 2 things plus water bottles are not allowed.
Oh.
Okay, so I had about 270 liters between the tanks and 4 jerry cans of water I had. And I mean, if you do the maths, it's 1 liter a day. And you hope like hell that you catch some water on the way. So when I sailed south at the equator, I managed to catch about 40-50 liters before the equator. And in the Southern Ocean, catching water becomes difficult because it's very stormy. And with those storms, along with the rains, you got sea spray, and that salt water gets into the water you collect, so you can't use it. Right?
Is there any reason why they tell you can't take bottles of water with you? Is there any reason behind it, or
They're a bit particular about one-time use plastic.
okay, and the reasoning of like 1 liter of water a day is not sufficient, and especially when you're spending 8 months in the ocean, how do you manage that?
Well, I managed. So at this point, when I was in the Southern Ocean, I checked the water that I had left, and I realized that it was something like 1 liter a day to finish the race over the next, let's say, 5 months.
Right.
Right. So I started conserving. I started cooking rice in seawater. So you put the rice in, you soak the rice in seawater, and it absorbs the fresh water out of it and becomes soft. Then you throw that seawater out and put fresh seawater and boil rice and cook it. And after that, you take 1 cup of water and rinse that rice with salt as much as you can, and then it's ready to eat. I was on 1 glass of water in 2 days, and I think 2 cups of coffee a day.
You can advise the Japanese on how to start with Insta food things. You can teach them a few lessons on Insta food. Yeah. No, and also like one thing, I was watching the video. We were watching the video when he came back. I don't know who the gentleman. There was a French journalist, I think, or someone was a lady there, and there was a gentleman who was talking to you. And when he came near you, one of the things he said, he said to you was, "Your country is so proud of you. The country is so proud of you." And the first thing you said was, "For the next 10 days." And after that, then they go back to cricket. Does that annoy you?
Oh, no. I mean, I'm sure that I've made an impact, and the impact is always incremental. Yeah. It's always incremental. I know the, kind of reception I got after my first circumnavigation. I know the kind of love I got after the accident in 2018.
Right.
And now 2022 also, it's incremental. I don't think, one man can suddenly make India into a sailing country, but as long as people change slowly and are open to the idea, I'm happy with that. And like, let's say Kerala government took a step, and they put my first circumnavigation in their school textbooks, history textbooks.
Right.
And I think I got a message from a lady in probably Qatar, I think, who was holding, their English textbook, kids' English textbook, which had 1 or 2 paragraph write-up about my participation in the 2018 GGR.
Right.
So kids reading about it is like, in one generation, we might have more sailors.
See, I'm happy that, people probably will take up to sailing, but if they see this interview and listen to what all you had to go through, probably they're not going to take up sailing.
Well, it's like this. I mean, there is more to sailing than single-handed circumnavigation.
Of course. I mean, I'm saying that I don't know when there's going to be a next Abhilash Tomy, seriously, because there is something which is one in a generation kind of thing. So,
but I can tell you, I went to a ship to have lunch, a naval ship to have lunch. No, it was a Coast Guard ship. I went to have lunch, and the doctor comes and introduces himself to me and says, "I am Abhilash Tomy." I was like, "What?" He's like, "Yeah, that's my name."
And after the race, you were on this food and water and all that. Is there a rehabilitation process? What you eat and what you have to do to get acclimatized to normalcy?
Right now, I'm on a seafood diet.
How
so I eat everything I see.
So, but there's nothing, there's no absorption, because it would have been a different diet while you were these 8 months.
Yeah. So I've been having a lot of preserved food at sea, and you crave for fresh food.
Yeah.
So I have a lot of fruits and all. These are the cravings. But when I get back to India, I will be consulting a dietitian who will, check all the micro and macronutrient levels and advise what I should be eating. Also, I'll go to a physio who will, recondition the body back.
How long will that take?
It's anybody's guess. It could take up to a year.
Mm-hmm. See, a topic is 1 year of rehabilitation to get yourself back to what you were before this expedition.
I can do it quickly, but that will entail.
What all you have to go through. One is go through this entire thing of being in the sea and going through all that you went through, and then a year of working on yourself, with a doctor and a nutritionist just to get back to what you were before going for this trip. So
Correct.
I was trying to say, anyone who's going to watch this video once we put it out, they like don't know that what all this, what all it takes for something like this, because
Well, that's just one part of it. The other part is I need to get used to people again. No, I'm
yeah,
not kidding. I mean, you forget the nuanced behavior of people.
right.
You, kind of, yeah, that's one part of it. Second is your sleep issues. That takes maybe a year and a half to pass.
Wow.
So you like go to sleep at 9, wake up at 10 because you think you need to adjust some rope. And then you try to sleep, you can't. And maybe by 1 in the morning you sleep and you wake up at 2 again. And yeah, it's strange.
To get back to a proper sleeping pattern, and forgetting about all this, it takes a year, so once you get back, it's still a struggle. And then hopefully, like, you're saying a year's time, it should be okay.
Correct. That's I'm speaking from experience of 2013.
Yeah. So what next for Captain Abhilash Tomy? Is your wife going to allow you to do this again? I really doubt it.
No, I personally don't want to do this again.
Yeah.
Golden Globe race is something that you can only do once.
Right.
You can't do it repeatedly like the Olympics or something.
Right.
And for me, the reason to do it again was just to erase the demons of 2018. That was the most important thing for me.
Was there something to prove to yourself?
Yes, because you always somebody said you will regret whether you do it or not.
Yeah.
Right. So I'd rather do it and regret than not do it. But yes, I had to get rid of that internal stigma of not being able to complete 2018. Right.
And so, once you come back, so you won't meet everybody straight away. You got to slowly adjust and all those kind of things. Because you talk about your human interactions is something you got to get used to again.
I'm sorry, can you repeat that?
The human interaction, you talked about that. There's something you got to get slowly build up again, right? Which you mentioned that you can't. Yeah.
It's you need to learn to interact with people. It's a bit strange. I don't know how to express it, but yeah, that's how it is.
Right. And what are your first words to your wife and children? What were your wife's first words to you?
She was very happy. I can tell you that she was a big support. It's not easy for a wife to let her husband go after receiving him in a wheelchair.
Yeah.
Bring him back to the same race that nearly killed him. It's not easy.
Yeah.
And dealing with the home front, 2 kids, uncertainty. Yeah. It's not easy. And I think she's played a stellar role by supporting.
Yeah.
And same with my mom and dad. But my brother is very happy. He said that I'm proud of you, not because you finished, but because you decided to do it again.
And he was there to receive you at in France, right?
He was there to see me off. He prepared the boat, and he was. Yeah.
And that when I was watching the video when you came into the thing, and that gentleman who told you about your country must be proud of you, asked you about your secret sale. Is this something which future people are going to use, which Abhilash Tomy invented?
There is no secret sale.
There's no secret sale.
There is no secret sale. That's the thing. I mean, I thought it was a joke, and it is a joke.
Okay. So, well, you had all the school then.
Yeah. I did have a sale, which was very ingenious. And you stick it on the back of the boat. Right. But I didn't find it was more of a nuisance than of any advantage. So I kind of stopped using it. I used it for one day, took some pictures and kept it back.
Okay, great. So when you're back in India, so you said after this thing, after
probably, next week sometimes.
Are you coming to Kerala, going to Goa or Bombay?
I'll go to Goa first, and then I'll have to make a trip to meet my parents.
Right. So we'll receive you at the airport in Cochin, Abhilash.
Oh no, please.
Unless you decide to come by boat.
That's what I plan. If you come to the airport, I'll come by boat.
And this boat goes to the museum in Dubai, right?
In Abu Dhabi.
In Abu Dhabi.
Yeah. So this is sponsored by an Abu Dhabi-based company, which is called Bayanat. And for the start, they had decided that they want to use the sport to motivate people to, go back to sea, go to sea, or I mean, these guys have a strong maritime culture. Or at least they had a strong maritime. They were merchants and traders who used to ply their ship going back.
Right.
So yeah, so that's the plan. I think that's a fantastic plan because I hope people see the boat and want to buy one and go to sea.
Fantastic. It'll be fantastic. So Abhilash, thanks so much for the interview. And I'll see you once you're back in Cochin. Even if you're coming by water, I'll be at the harbour.
Yeah. I'm going to land in the naval base airport. No, but I'll tell you when I come, and I definitely want to meet you.
Be good fun. I'm really looking forward to it.
Yeah, and I want to have coffee in your office.
100%. 100%. Yeah, and you're coming home like last time.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Cheers, Abhilash. See you soon.